Is that my signature? Jae-hyun's voice cut through the clinic waiting room. His eyes locked on the intake form in Treasure's hand before she instinctively flipped it face down. Her ex-husband. The Mafia heir who'd divorced her 8 months ago so he could marry someone his family approved of. Looked like he'd seen a ghost. 8 months divorced. Standing in a fertility clinic. With his pregnant fiancée. The math was unraveling him in real time. His family had called her an embarrassment. A phase. Something to be erased before the real business of dynasty building began. He'd signed the papers while she was still recovering from what she'd lost. Now here she was, in the one place that revealed everything. The specialized clinic his family would never approve of. The treatment they'd forbidden her to pursue. The choice that proved she'd moved on without him. The receptionist's voice droned on as Jae-hyun's fiancé tugged at his sleeve, oblivious. And Treasure realized they were both standing in a room full of secrets, where one overheard name could destroy the perfect picture he'd painted for his new life. Welcome back, family. Have you ever run into your ex at the worst possible moment? Not just any ex. The one who chose his family's approval over your future together. The one who walked away when things got hard. Now imagine you're moving forward with your life, finally, and he shows up with his replacement, completely unaware of what you've been through. This story will hit differently. It's about reclaiming your life when everyone counted you out. About building the family you want, not the one you were denied. And about proving that sometimes the best revenge is simply healing. If you've ever wondered whether you'd feel triumphant or heartbroken seeing an ex with someone new, you need to hear what happens next. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and whether you think exes deserve to know your business. And don't forget to like and subscribe because this story takes turns you won't see coming. The nurse called her name. Ms. Williams. That's me, Treasure said, her voice steadier than she felt. Jae-hyun's head snapped up. Williams. Not Park. Not his name anymore. His jaw clenched. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there with his fiancée's hand in his, looking like a man watching his past and present collide. His eyes searched hers, and she watched the questions form. Questions he had no right to ask. His fiancée smiled, polite and clueless. Do you two know each other? We used to, Treasure said simply. The nurse gestured toward the hallway. Treasure stood, gathering her bag, and walked toward the consultation rooms without looking back. But she felt his stare following her. Felt the weight of everything unsaid pressing against her chest. Inside the small consultation room, Dr. Patel smiled warmly. How are you feeling about everything? Ready, Treasure admitted. Finally ready. The doctor reviewed her chart, and Treasure let herself breathe. This was her choice. Her future. And whatever Jae-hyun thought he saw out there in that waiting room was none of his business anymore. The knock came 3 days later. Treasure wasn't expecting anyone. She'd been careful since the clinic. Different routes home, curtains drawn, phone on silent. When you'd been married to the Korean Mafia, you learned that coincidences didn't exist. She checked the peephole. A woman stood there. Petite. Designer handbag. Pearl earrings that probably cost more than Treasure's rent. Jae-hyun's fiancé. Treasure's hand froze on the doorknob. How did she find me? I know you're there, the woman called out, her voice pleasant, almost friendly. I just want to talk. Woman to woman. Every instinct screamed at Treasure to stay silent, to pretend she wasn't home. But the woman's next words stopped her cold. I know about the baby. The door swung open before Treasure could stop herself. The woman smiled. Perfectly practiced, perfectly cold. I'm Charlotte. May I come in? It wasn't really a question. Charlotte swept past her into the small apartment, her eyes cataloging everything. The second-hand furniture. The single bedroom. The life Treasure had rebuilt from nothing after the divorce. Cute place, Charlotte said, sitting without being invited. She crossed her legs, and Treasure noticed the engagement ring. Massive. Flawless. Everything the Park family valued. What do you want? Treasure remained standing, arms crossed protectively. Charlotte opened her purse with deliberate slowness, pulling out an envelope. Cream-colored. Expensive paper. Treasure's stomach dropped. She'd seen one exactly like it before. 8 months ago, when Jae-hyun's mother had made her first offer. Mrs. Park, the elder Mrs. Park, wanted to handle this personally, but I convinced her to let me come instead. Charlotte placed the envelope on the coffee table. Call it a modern approach to an old problem. I'm not a problem. Aren't you? Charlotte's smile never wavered. You're the ex-wife who mysteriously appeared at a fertility clinic. The same clinic, actually, where the Parks have a, shall we say, private arrangement with the director. Dr. Patel is very loyal to families who donate generously. Treasure's blood went cold. The consultation, her medical records, her plans. Charlotte continued, almost conversational. It's fascinating, really. A black woman who couldn't give the Park family an heir suddenly seeking fertility treatment 8 months after her divorce. One might wonder what you're planning. My medical decisions are none of your $3 million. Charlotte cut her off, tapping the envelope. Double what his mother offered you before. Enough to start over somewhere far from here. Somewhere warm, maybe. Isn't that what you people prefer? The casual racism landed like a slap. Treasure had heard it all before from Jae-hyun's mother, but somehow it hit different coming from this woman. This replacement who thought she'd won. Get out. I'm not finished. Charlotte's voice hardened. That's option 1. Option 2 is less pleasant. See, the Park family has connections you can't imagine. Immigration. Medical licensing boards. Even fertility clinics can lose their accreditation if the right questions get asked about patient privacy violations. Treasure's hands clenched into fists. You're threatening to destroy my doctor's career? I'm explaining consequences. Charlotte stood, smoothing her skirt. You had your chance with Jae-hyun. You weren't suitable. But I am. Our wedding is in 6 weeks. His mother has already started planning for our children. Legitimate heirs with the right bloodline. The word legitimate hung in the air like poison. Take the money, Treasure. Disappear. Whatever you think you saw at that clinic, whatever you think you're entitled to, it's over. The Park family takes care of problems. You've seen how. Charlotte moved toward the door, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. Jae-hyun doesn't know I'm here. He's been distracted since the clinic. Asking questions. Looking at old photos. It would be such a shame if he found out about your little medical journey before you've made the smart choice. She left the envelope on the table. Treasure stood frozen until she heard the elevator ding. Then she grabbed the envelope, her hands shaking, and ripped it open. A cashier's check for $3 million fell out. But there was something else. A photograph. Old. Creased. One she'd thought was destroyed. Her and Jae-hyun on their wedding day. But someone had drawn a red X over her face. And written in the margin, in handwriting she recognized as his mother's. Some stains don't wash out. Some mistakes don't get second chances. Treasure's phone buzzed. Unknown number. The text made her knees buckle. We know about the pregnancy. We know who the father is. We know everything. You have 48 hours to take the money and sign the NDA. Or we'll make sure you lose everything, including the baby. Park family legal team. Her hands flew to her belly, where her secret had been growing for 16 weeks. The baby she'd spent 8 months preparing for. The baby conceived through IVF. The baby created from embryos she and Jae-hyun had frozen 2 years ago, before everything fell apart. The baby that was 100% theirs. Whether he knew it yet or not. Treasure didn't answer the door this time. She didn't have to. The lock clicked open on its own, electronic override. And Jae-hyun walked in like he still owned the place. Like he'd never signed papers that erased their marriage. Like 8 months of silence meant nothing. Pack a bag, he said. No greeting. No explanation. Treasure looked up from her couch, where she'd been sitting for the past 6 hours, staring at Charlotte's check and that threatening text. Excuse me. You're moving. Tonight. He was different than at the clinic. Focused. Dangerous. The version of him that ran empires and made people disappear. She'd forgotten how terrifying he could be when he decided something. I'm not going anywhere with you. Jae-hyun's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, turned it toward her. Security footage from her apartment hallway. Charlotte's visit. Time-stamped. Every second. You've been under surveillance since the clinic, he said quietly. My mother. Charlotte. They've had people watching you for 3 days. Treasure's stomach lurched. You've been spying on me? Protecting you. There's a difference. He pocketed the phone. Charlotte came here with threats. My mother's legal team sent you a message. And you're still sitting here like you're safe. I can handle. They threatened the baby, Treasure. The words hung between them. Heavy. Undeniable. She stood, anger flooding through her. You don't get to do this. You don't get to pretend you care after you. 16 weeks. His voice cut through hers like a blade. Dr. Patel's notes say 16 weeks pregnant. I had my people pull the clinic records. Of course he did. The Park family owned half of Seoul, including, apparently, medical privacy. That's illegal. That's survival. He stepped closer. 16 weeks means conception happened in mid-October. 8 months ago, you and I were still married. Barely. But we were. His eyes bored into hers. So I'm going to ask you once, and I need the truth. Is this baby mine? Treasure's heart hammered against her ribs. She could lie. Should lie. But his eyes, God, those eyes that had once promised her everything, were desperate. What does it matter? She whispered. You chose them. You chose Charlotte. You chose. Is it mine? The apartment felt too small. The walls closing in. 8 months of rebuilding herself, of surviving alone, of planning a future without him. All of it crumbling. Yes, she breathed. The word destroyed him. She watched it happen in real time. The same way it had at the clinic, but worse. His hand shot out to grip the doorframe, knuckles white. The embryos, he said hoarsely. The ones we froze. Before his mother found out. Before the threat started. Before he'd been given an ultimatum. The family empire or his black wife. Treasure nodded, tears burning her eyes. I never thought I'd use them. But after the divorce, after everything, I couldn't let go of the only piece of us that was left. Jesus, Treasure. His voice cracked. Do you have any idea what you've done? What I've done? Fury replaced her tears. You abandoned me. You let your mother call me a stain. You signed those papers without fighting. And now you're angry because I wanted a child? Because I used something that was legally mine. I'm angry because you're in danger. He moved so fast she barely saw it, gripping her shoulders. My family will kill you before they let a half-black heir threaten the dynasty. You think Charlotte's visit was bad. You think a threatening text is the worst they'll do. Let go of me. Not until you're safe. His hands gentled but didn't release. There's a penthouse. High security. My personal property, not family-owned. 24th floor, bulletproof glass, armed guards. You move in tonight. I'm not living with you. You're living where I can protect you. Where they can't get to you. And Charlotte, your fiancée, your perfect replacement. Something flickered in his eyes. That's complicated. Everything with you is complicated. Please. The word sounded foreign in his mouth. Jae-hyun didn't beg, didn't plead, but his fingers trembled against her arms. I lost you once because I was a coward. I'm not losing this baby because I was too proud to keep you safe. Treasure wanted to say no, wanted to tell him to go to hell. But the text message flashed in her mind. We'll make sure you lose everything, including the baby. Fine, she said. But I have conditions. Name them. Separate bedrooms. No questions about my medical decisions. And the second your family backs off, I'm gone. He nodded. Deal. She pulled away, started throwing clothes into a bag. Her hands shook. This was insane. Moving in with her ex-husband while he was engaged to another woman. While carrying his baby. While his family wanted her dead. Treasure. She turned. Jae-hyun stood in her doorway, looking lost. Why didn't you tell me? About the embryos. About the baby. Why didn't you? Because you made your choice, she said simply. And I made mine. 20 minutes later, they were in his car. The city lights blurred past. Neither spoke. The penthouse was obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Marble everything. The kind of place she'd lived in when they were married. The kind of place that had never felt like home. Your room's down the hall, Jae-hyun said, setting down her bag. Private bathroom. Stocked fridge. Panic button by the bed connects directly to my security team. Romantic. He didn't smile. There's something else you need to know. Treasure's stomach dropped. What? My mother's planning something. I don't know what yet, but she's been meeting with the family council. Charlotte's been too quiet since her visit. And there's been unusual activity in the family accounts, large cash movements, offshore transfers. Meaning they're preparing for something big. And whatever it is, it involves you and that baby. Before Treasure could respond, Jae-hyun's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and went pale. What? What is it? He turned the phone toward her. A photo. Taken hours ago. Treasure in her apartment, holding Charlotte's check. But the photo had been edited. Red crosshairs centered perfectly over her pregnant belly. The caption underneath made her blood turn to ice. Next time we won't miss. Tell your son goodbye. The family. Jae-hyun's voice was deadly quiet. They're not threatening anymore. They're hunting. Treasure couldn't sleep. The penthouse was too quiet. Too perfect. Too much like the prison she'd escaped 8 months ago. At 2 a.m., she gave up and wandered into Jaehyun's study. He was at some emergency family meeting. Damage control after the photo threat. She had the place to herself. The room smelled like him. Expensive cologne and old leather. Her chest ached. She wasn't snooping. Not really. Just looking. The desk drawer stuck when she pulled it. She yanked harder. It gave way, and a folder fell out, spilling papers across the floor. Treasure knelt to pick them up and froze. Divorce documents. They're divorce documents. She shouldn't look. Should just put them back. But her hands were already unfolding the pages, and her heart was already breaking all over again. There was his signature. Bold. Final. The signature that had ended everything. But there was something else. Stapled to the back. Legal paperwork she'd never seen before. Park Williams' irrevocable trust. Established October 15th. The day before he'd served her the divorce papers. Treasure's hands shook as she read. $20 million. Placed in trust. Beneficiary, Treasure Williams. Conditions. Inaccessible to Park family. Protected from creditors. Monthly disbursements starting 1 year post-divorce. 1 year. That would have been next month. Her vision blurred. He'd set this up the night before he destroyed her. Had secured her future even as he walked away. But why? If he cared enough to do this, why sign the papers at all? She kept reading. Found a handwritten note paper-clipped to the contract. His handwriting. I'm sorry. This doesn't fix what I'm doing. Nothing can. But you'll never have to depend on anyone again. Not even me. Especially not me. Jay. Footsteps in the hallway. Treasure scrambled to put everything back, but the door opened. Jaehyun stood there, tie loosened, exhaustion carved into his face. His eyes dropped to the papers in her hands. You weren't supposed to find that, he said quietly. $20 million? Her voice cracked. You gave me $20 million and then divorced me anyway? I had to protect you. By leaving me? By making sure you could survive without me. He stepped into the room. My mother made it clear, stay married to you and they'd destroy you. Your career. Your family. Everything. But if I left you with nothing, made you look like a gold digger who walked away empty-handed, they'd lose interest. So the trust was my insurance policy. You'd suffer for 1 year. Hate me for 1 year. But then you'd be free and financially secure. Untouchable. Treasure's throat burned. You let me think you threw me away like garbage. Better than you knowing the truth. What truth? His voice broke. That every single day without you has been hell. That I signed those papers with a gun to your head. Not literally, but close enough. That my mother threatened to have you killed if I didn't end it. The room spun. She wouldn't. She had photos, Treasure. You leaving your office. Getting coffee. At your sister's house. She said one word from her and you'd disappear. I had 24 hours to divorce you or she'd make sure you vanished. Treasure couldn't breathe. So you chose to break my heart instead. I chose to keep you alive. Her phone buzzed. Then his. Then both at once. They looked at the screens and went pale. A video. Sent from an unknown number. Charlotte, tied to a chair in a dark room. Bleeding. Crying. And a distorted voice. You brought the ex-wife into Park property. You broke the agreement. Now your fiancé pays the price. Return Treasure to us in 6 hours or Charlotte dies. This is your mother's final warning. Jaehyun's face went white. Oh God. They took her. My own family took Charlotte. Treasure's voice was barely a whisper. What agreement? He looked at her, and she saw the truth in his eyes before he spoke. The deal I made 8 months ago. Divorce you. Marry Charlotte. Keep you away from the family forever. I broke it the second I brought you here. His hands clenched into fists. I signed your death warrant, Treasure. And now they're using Charlotte to draw you out. The video played again. Charlotte's screams echoing through the penthouse. And Treasure realized the impossible choice in front of them. Save Charlotte and sacrifice herself, or let an innocent woman die. The Park family emergency meeting was at their downtown tower. Top floor, where deals worth billions got made, and people who crossed the family got erased. Jaehyun wanted Treasure to stay at the penthouse. She refused. They took Charlotte because of me, she said. I'm not hiding while someone else bleeds. Now she stood in the glass elevator, watching the city shrink below, her hand protective over her belly. Jaehyun beside her, silent and lethal. The doors opened to chaos. His mother, his uncle, The entire family council. Charlotte's father, CEO of the largest tech conglomerate in Asia. And Charlotte herself, freed but shaking, a bandage on her temple. It had been a test. A staged kidnapping to prove a point. You brought her here. Jaehyun's mother didn't even look at Treasure, like she was beneath notice. After everything we agreed. After I gave you Charlotte, gave you the merger, gave you everything. You tortured an innocent woman to make a point, Jaehyun said, his voice ice. I showed you the cost of disobedience. His mother finally turned to Treasure, and the hatred in her eyes was physical. You should be grateful we only threatened you. In the old days, problems like you simply disappeared. Charlotte's father stepped forward. Enough games. The merger papers are ready. Sign them, Jaehyun. Marry my daughter next month as planned. Or the deal dies, and the Park family loses 60 billion in assets. 60 billion. The number hung in the air. Jaehyun's uncle spoke up. You're going to throw away the family's future for your ex-wife? For her bastard. He's not a bastard, Treasure said, finding her voice. He's your grandson. Your nephew. Your blood. He's half black, his mother spat. He'll never be Park family. The room went silent. Jaehyun moved. Slow. Deliberate. He walked to the conference table where the merger documents sat. Picked up the pen. Charlotte exhaled in relief. Treasure's heart shattered. Then Jaehyun drove the pen through the papers, tearing them in half. No deal, he said. The room erupted. You're insane. Charlotte's father roared. You'll bankrupt us, his uncle shouted. But Jaehyun kept his eyes on his mother. You want to know the cost of disobedience? I'll show you. I choose her. I choose our son. And if that means I burn this entire empire to the ground, then watch me light the match. His mother's face went purple with rage. You're disowned. Effective immediately. No name. No money. No protection. Good. Jaehyun took Treasure's hand. I never wanted any of it anyway. They turned to leave. You won't make it out of this building alive, his mother said quietly. The elevator doors were already closing when Treasure saw them. Security guards. Dozens. Moving to block every exit. Jaehyun's phone buzzed. A message from his head of security. Building lockdown initiated. All exits sealed. Mrs. Park gave the order. I'm sorry, sir. My family is threatened if I don't comply. They were trapped. 24 floors up. Surrounded by armed men loyal to his mother. No way out. And then the lights went out. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in red. A new message appeared on Jaehyun's phone. Unknown sender. Rooftop. Helicopter waiting. You have 90 seconds before they override the lockdown. Run. A friend. Treasure's voice shook. Who sent that? I don't know, Jaehyun said. But we're out of options. They ran. The helicopter ride lasted 12 minutes. They landed on a private airstrip 2 hours outside Seoul. A safe house, the pilot said. Untraceable. Treasure should have felt safe. She didn't. Jaehyun was on his phone, barking orders in Korean. Marshalling resources. Calling in favors. The version of him she'd rarely seen during their marriage. The real heir. The one who'd been trained since birth to run an empire built on blood. We have 48 hours, he said, pocketing his phone. Before they find us. Then what? Then I end this. The way he said it made her shiver. 3 hours later, Treasure was asleep when the gunshot started. She jerked awake. Jaehyun was already moving, pulling her from the bed, pushing her toward the panic room. They found us, he said. Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone but me. Jaehyun. He kissed her. Hard. Desperate. Like goodbye. Then he was gone. Through the panic room's security monitors, Treasure watched it unfold. 6 men. Professional. Armed. They moved through the safe house like they'd done this 1,000 times. But they'd never faced Jaehyun Park when someone he loved was threatened. He was a different person. No hesitation. No mercy. The man who'd signed divorce papers and cried was gone. This was the Mafia heir who'd been raised to eliminate threats. The first man went down before he saw Jaehyun coming. The second managed to fire, but the bullet went wide. The third. Treasure covered her mouth to keep from screaming. It was over in 4 minutes. Jaehyun stood in the center of the room, breathing hard, blood on his hands. Not his blood. He looked directly at the camera. At her. And she saw the truth of who he really was. The door to the panic room opened. She fell into his arms. Charlotte's father sent them, he said against her hair. This was his retaliation. His daughter humiliated, his merger destroyed. He wanted you dead. How do you know? Because one of them talked before he died. Treasure pulled back. You killed them. All of them. No regret in his voice. And I'm about to kill more. He showed her his phone. Messages he'd sent. Coordinates. Instructions. Photos of Charlotte's father's locations. His homes, his offices, his mistress's apartment. What did you do? I declared war. His eyes were black, empty. By morning, Charlotte's father will have nothing. His accounts frozen. His assets seized. His allies turned. And if he's smart, he'll be on a plane to somewhere we'll never find him. And if he's not smart, Jae-hyun's smile was terrifying. Then he joins his hired killers. Treasure should have been horrified. Should have seen the monster. But all she felt was safe. Your mother won't let this go, she whispered. I know. He cupped her face. That's why tomorrow, I'm calling a council meeting. The real one. The old families. The ones who built this empire before my mother corrupted it. What are you going to do? Challenge her for control. It's the only way. Old rules. Trial by council vote. Winner takes everything. Loser is exiled. And if you lose, we run. Forever. His phone buzzed. He looked at it and his expression changed. What? Charlotte. His voice was hollow. She's at the hospital. Overdose. Sleeping pills. Treasure's hand flew to her mouth. The message continued. She left a note. Says she can't live with the shame. Says her father forced her into this engagement. Forced her to threaten you. Says she's sorry. Another message. This one from Jae-hyun's mother. Your fiancé is dying because of you. Because you chose that woman. Come to the hospital alone. Or I'll make sure the child she's carrying never takes a breath. You have 1 hour. Treasure grabbed his arm. It's a trap. I know. Then don't go. Jae-hyun looked at her, and she saw the impossible weight on his shoulders. If Charlotte dies because of me, because of us, I'll never forgive myself. If you go, your mother will kill you. Maybe. He kissed her forehead. But I have to try to save her. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. She threatened my baby. I have a right to face her. They stared at each other. A standoff. His phone buzzed again. A photo this time. Charlotte in a hospital bed. Tubes and wires. Jae-hyun's mother standing beside her, holding a pillow. The caption, 45 minutes. Come alone or I finish what she started. And Treasure realized with horror that Jae-hyun's mother wasn't trying to save Charlotte. She was going to smother her and blame them for it. They made it to the hospital in 38 minutes. Charlotte was alive. Barely. His mother stood guard like a sentinel. And the moment she saw Treasure, her face twisted with pure hatred. I told you to come alone. And I told you I'm done following your orders. Jae-hyun stepped between them. You're going to walk away from Charlotte. You're going to drop this vendetta. Or I'm going to show this entire hospital the security footage of you holding that pillow over her face. His mother's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. Jae-hyun held up his phone. The footage played. Crystal clear. His mother approaching Charlotte's bed. Pillow in hand. I had the room monitored the second I got your message, he said coldly. Attempted murder. The police are very interested. You wouldn't dare. Try me. His mother's face went pale. For the first time in her life, she had nothing to say. Here's what's going to happen, Jae-hyun continued. You're going to leave. Tonight. You're going to tell the family I'm dead to you. And you're never going to contact Treasure or our child again. Because if you do, this footage goes public. Your reputation, your status, everything gone. She looked at Treasure with pure venom. Then she walked away. But as she passed, she whispered just loud enough for Treasure to hear. This isn't over. 3 weeks later, Treasure went into labor. Not in some sterile hospital. In a small cottage in Jeju Island. Far from Seoul. Far from the parks. Far from everything. Jae-hyun held her hand through every contraction. And when their son finally came into the world, screaming, perfect, beautiful, he wept like a man who'd finally found something worth more than an empire. What do we name him? Treasure asked, exhausted and glowing. Jae-hyun looked at her. Not Park. Never Park. Williams. Williams Park. Hyphenated. A new family. A new dynasty. One built on love, not blood money. She smiled through tears. Williams Park. I like that. He kissed her forehead. I'm sorry for everything. For leaving you. For being too weak to fight. But I swear on our son's life, I'll never choose anything over you again. You already proved that when you walked away from $60 billion. Best decision I ever made. They stayed in Jeju for 6 months. Hiding, healing, building a life far from the chaos. Jaehyun sold off his remaining assets. Quietly, carefully. Enough to ensure they'd never need anything, but not enough to draw attention. He legally changed his name. Jaehyun Williams. Treasure laughed when she saw the paperwork. You really did it. You walked away from everything. Not everything. He pulled her close, their son sleeping between them. I walked toward everything that actually matters. On their son's first birthday, a package arrived. No return address. Just a small box. Inside, divorce papers. The originals. And a handwritten note from Jaehyun's mother. You think you've won. You think love conquers all. But blood always calls blood. And when your son grows up and learns what empire he could have inherited, what power you denied him, he'll hate you both. Enjoy your poverty. Enjoy your love. I'll be waiting for the day he comes looking for his real family. Mrs. Park. Treasure's hands shook as she read it. Jaehyun took the note, read it once, then walked to the fireplace and burned it. She's wrong, he said simply. Is she? He turned to her, and in his eyes she saw absolute certainty. Our son won't grow up knowing hate. Won't grow up learning that people are disposable. He'll grow up knowing he was worth more than an empire. That his mother was brave enough to choose him. That his father finally chose right. Treasure believed him. She had to. Because 3 floors below their cottage, in a car with tinted windows, a man sat watching. Hired by the Park family. Taking notes. Photographing their son. Waiting. Thank you so much for watching this story. If it moved you, made you angry, made you believe in second chances, drop a comment below telling me what you thought. Would you have forgiven Jaehyun? Would you have fought for love against an entire empire? And don't forget to like and subscribe because this family's story is far from over. Sometimes the greatest battles aren't for power. They're for the right to choose your own destiny. See you in the next one.